Have you ever read a message that made your heart stop? Not a missed call, not a casual text, but words that tore through everything you thought you knew. If you've stared at your phone feeling the ground slip away, leave a dot in the comments. This is Broken Vows, where promises crumble and betrayals burn. Like if you've been blindsided by someone you loved. Subscribe for more stories of shattered oaths. Comment if you felt the sting of deception. My name is Laura Bennett, and my story isn't just about a marriage falling apart. It's about how I turned a knife in my back into my own weapon. And here's how it all began. I used to think my life was a masterpiece. At 38, I'd built Bennett Designs, my interior design boutique in Scottsdale, into something the city's elite couldn't stop talking about. I could walk into a mansion and see its soul, how the light could warm a corner, how a single chair could tell a story. My clients didn't just hire me, they trusted me, shared their dreams, their fears. I was the one who remembered their anniversaries, who listened when they needed more than a new sofa. My boutique was my heart poured into every fabric swatch, every blueprint. It was proof I'd made it from late nights sketching at my kitchen table to a name that opened doors. But home was different. My husband, Ethan Caldwell, was a corporate lawyer, 40, with a smile that could charm anyone. We looked perfect. Dinner parties with expensive wine laughter echoing through our Scottsdale home, a space I'd designed to feel like us. Friends envied us, me the creative dreamer, Ethan the steady rock. But I felt the cracks. His compliments stopped coming. His late nights at the office stretched longer. His excuses, flimsier. His phone was always close, buzzing at 2 a.m. Its screen turned away from me. I'd catch him smiling at it, a private smile that wasn't mine. My heart ached, but I didn't let it show. I'd built my business by reading people, and I knew Ethan better than he thought. I noticed the signs. The way his eyes lingered on younger women at galas, his gaze too hungry. The way his work trips always hit when I was buried in deadlines. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I watched, my heart heavy, but my mind sharp. I started preparing quietly, like setting a trap. Months ago, I opened a private savings account, funneling my earnings there, leaving just enough in our joint account to keep him clueless. I wasn't going to let him take what I'd built. Not my boutique, not my life, not me. It was a Tuesday morning in spring, the Arizona sun pouring through my boutique's windows. I was arranging fabric swatches for a client's villa when my phone buzzed. Ethan's name lit up the screen. My stomach twisted, not with love, but with instinct. I opened the text and read Laura. I'm done. I want a divorce. I'm with Ava now. She's 20 and she gets me. I've taken what's mine from the joint account. Good luck. The words hit like a slap, cold and sharp. My breath caught, but I didn't break. I set the phone down, turned to my client and said, "Let's try the linen for the drapes." My voice was steady, my smile tight. Inside I was a storm, not of tears but of resolve. Ethan thought he'd blindsided me. He thought he'd won. But I'd seen this coming. For months I'd been collecting evidence, hotel receipts he'd left in his jacket, charges for dinners. I never ate late-night ATM withdrawals from places he shouldn't have been. I was ready, and he had no idea. If you've ever read a text that made your world tilt, you know that feeling, the silence too heavy, the air too thin. Like if you felt that betrayal, subscribe to Broken Vows for stories that cut deep. I didn't reply to Ethan's text. I didn't call, didn't scream, didn't cry. I finished my meeting, locked the boutique and drove home, the desert stretching around me, endless and unyielding. Ethan thought he'd gutted me, taking $80,000 from our joint account in one swipe. He thought he'd left me with nothing, but I'd been smarter. My private account held $250,000, my earnings safe, untouchable. I'd left just enough in the joint account to keep him smug, to let him think he was in control. Now his move had shown his hand, and I was ready to play mine. I hadn't just protected my money, I'd built a case. For months I'd gathered pieces of Ethan's betrayal, each one a shard of truth. A receipt from a Sedona hotel crumpled in his pocket. Credit card charges for rooftop bars, late-night Ubers. I hadn't taken. I guessed his email password, Caldwell 88, so painfully. Him, and found messages to Ava Harper, a name I didn't know but wouldn't forget. "You're my escape," he wrote. "Can't wait for Miami." Each email was a punch to my chest, but I didn't let it break me. I printed them, dated them, filed them away. I hired a private investigator, Karen, who moved like a ghost. She sent me photos, Ethan with Ava, a blonde barely out of college, laughing over drinks. Her hand on his arm, his wedding ring glinting like a lie. That night, I called my lawyer, Rachel Pierce. She was a force known for tearing apart men like Ethan in court. "He thinks he's got you," she said, her voice like ice. Let's show him he's wrong. We'd been preparing for weeks, divorce papers ready, my assets documented, my boutique and home were in my name alone, a detail Ethan had dismissed years ago with a careless wave. Whatever, Laura, you handle it, he'd said. That arrogance was his mistake. Ethan didn't stop at one text. Over the next 2 days, he kept sending messages, each one sharper, meant to cut deeper. You're too old for me, Laura. Ava's got life in her. Your little shop won't keep you afloat without me. Miami's calling. Ava and I are starting fresh. Every word was a blade meant to make me feel small, old, worthless, but I read them with a cold calm. Saving each one, Ethan's ego was his downfall. He was so busy gloating, he didn't notice my silence. He used our joint credit card to book first-class tickets to Miami, a penthouse suite at a 5-star hotel, thousands of dollars charged without a thought, $500 for flights, $2,000 for the hotel. I saw the notifications and acted. I called the bank, reported the charges as fraudulent. Ethan hadn't just taken my money, he'd underestimated me. By the time he and Ava reached the airport, their tickets were void. The hotel had canceled their reservation. I didn't need to see his face to know it burned with humiliation. Ava's excitement turning to irritation beside him. If that moment of someone's lies unraveling feels familiar, hit that like button. Betrayal always has a price. If Ethan's texts made your blood boil, you're not alone. Some betrayals cut deeper than words can say. Like if you've felt that sting, comment with a, if you've been there. Subscribe for more stories where the truth fights back. Now let me tell you how I turned the tables. I became a fortress, my resolve unbreakable. I met with Rachel daily, sharpening our plan. Ethan thought he could claim half my boutique, half my home, but he was wrong. I'd built my business with care, every contract, every deed in my name alone. Ethan's signature was nowhere a detail he'd overlooked in his chase for status. He'd been too busy preening to notice, but Ethan kept digging his own grave. He spent recklessly thinking the joint account was his playground. A diamond bracelet for Ava, a deposit on a Miami condo. I let him watching the charges pile up, each one more ammunition. I sent every transaction to Rachel, who added it to our file. My boutique, meanwhile, was thriving. Clients poured in, drawn by my work and my quiet strength. Word of Ethan's betrayal spread among Scottsdale's elite. They didn't take kindly to men who humiliated their own, a client. Diane, a wealthy widow, pulled me aside one day. You're better than him, she said, her voice firm. Show him I did. I filed for an emergency court hearing, armed with Ethan's texts, the fraudulent charges, and proof my boutique was mine alone. Rachel was relentless in court. He's not just a cheater, he's a thief. The judge, a woman with no patience for Ethan's charm, froze all joint assets and ordered him to repay the $80,000 he'd taken. Ethan's voice cracked as he tried to argue it was a misunderstanding, that I was overreacting. The judge didn't care. Neither did I. The fallout hit him hard. His firm heard about the scandal, and an HR investigation followed Ethan once their golden boy was demoted to a desk job, his reputation in tatters. Ava, who'd thought he was her ticket to a glamorous life, saw the truth when the money ran dry. She left him stranded in Miami, her social media accounts suddenly private. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. My boutique was busier than ever, my designs featured in a local magazine. Clients called me an inspiration, not a victim. I hired 2 new designers, expanded my showroom, and started planning a second location. But Ethan wasn't the type to disappear quietly, and I had one more move to make. I thought the courtroom would be the end of it. I thought watching Ethan's face collapse as the judge froze our assets, as his lies unraveled, would feel like victory. But it didn't. It felt like standing in the wreckage of my own heart, picking up shards that cut deeper with every touch. I'd won the battle, but the war was inside me. Rage, grief, and a quiet, gnawing doubt that maybe I'd missed something, maybe I'd failed him first. I pushed those thoughts down, buried them under work, under plans, under the steel I'd forged around myself. But at night, when the house was too quiet, they clawed their way back up, whispering, was I enough? Could I have stopped this? The days after the hearing were a blur. My boutique, Bennett Designs, was busier than ever. Clients poured in their support, a lifeline I hadn't expected. They didn't just want my designs. They wanted to stand with me, to lift me up. Diane, the widow who'd become my confidant, brought me coffee one morning, her eyes soft but fierce. You're not just surviving, Laura, she said. You're rewriting the story. Her words stuck, but they didn't erase the ache. I smiled for her, for my team, for the clients who called me an inspiration. But inside I was fracturing pieces of the woman I'd been splintering under the weight of Ethan's betrayal. I'd lie awake at night staring at the ceiling of the home I'd designed for us. Every corner held a memory: the dining table where we'd laughed over wine, the couch where he'd kissed me and promised forever. Now those promises felt like lies I'd told myself. I'd see his face in my mind, not the smug lawyer in court, but the man I'd married, the one who'd held my hand when I opened my boutique, who'd said he'd always have my back. Where had that man gone? Had he ever existed? The questions tore at me, leaving jagged edges I couldn't smooth out. Ethan wasn't done. I should have known he wouldn't go quietly. A week after the hearing, I got an email from his lawyer, a slick man named Greg Thornton. They were contesting the asset freeze, claiming I'd manipulated the situation, that I'd entrapped Ethan by letting him spend on the joint card. The audacity made my blood boil, but the accusation stung. Had I played dirty? Had I become someone I didn't recognize? I pushed the doubt aside, called Rachel, and we dug in. "He's grasping," Rachel said, her voice steady. "Let him try." But I felt the ground shift beneath me, the weight of his lies pressing harder against my resolve. Then came the calls, Ethan's number late at night lighting up my phone. I didn't answer, but he left voicemails. His voice slurred, desperate. "Laura, you're ruining me," he said in one. "You think you're so perfect, but you pushed me away. Ava was a mistake, okay? Let's fix this." The words were a punch to my gut. Fix this. After he'd mocked my age, my business, my everything, I deleted the message, but it lingered, a poison seeping into my thoughts. I wondered if I'd been too cold, too focused on my work. Had I driven him to Ava? The guilt was a shadow following me through every quiet moment. Scottsdale's elite turned on Ethan fast. Word of his affair spread like wildfire, fueled by whispers at galas and country clubs. His firm's clients started pulling away, wary of the scandal. I heard from a mutual friend, Sarah, that Ethan had been spotted at a bar alone, nursing a whiskey, his tie undone. "He's a mess," she said, her voice tinged with pity. I didn't want to hear it. Pity for him felt like a betrayal of me. But Sarah kept talking, saying he'd told people I was vindictive, that I'd set him up to fail. The lie twisted in my chest, but I didn't correct her. I'd learned silence was my weapon. Still, the rumors hurt. I'd walk into meetings and clients' eyes would linger, searching for cracks in my armor. I held my head high, but each glance felt like a reminder. I was the woman whose husband left her for someone half her age. I'd catch myself in the mirror, tracing the lines on my face, wondering if Ethan was right. Was I too old, too worn? The thought made me sick, but I couldn't shake it. I'd built my life on confidence, on knowing my worth, but Ethan's words had planted a seed of doubt, and it was growing. 2 weeks after the hearing, Ava Harper walked into my boutique. I was behind the counter sketching a layout when I saw her, blonde, young, impossibly confident, in a way that made my stomach churn. My first instinct was to throw her out, but I froze, my pen still in my hand. She approached, her eyes nervous. Not the smug girl I'd imagined Laura. She said, her voice soft, "I owe you an apology." I stared, my heart pounding, every nerve screaming to shut her down. But something in her face, vulnerability, maybe regret, made me listen. She told me Ethan had lied to her too. He'd painted me as cold, controlling a wife who'd pushed him away. He'd promised her a future, a life of luxury. But when the money vanished, so did his charm. "I didn't know," she said, her voice breaking. "I thought you were the villain." I wanted to hate her, to scream that she'd ruined my life. But I saw the truth in her eyes. She was another casualty of Ethan's selfishness. I knotted my throat tight and said, "I believe you," but forgiving her didn't erase the pain. It just shifted. It made it heavier, because now I saw Ethan's betrayal as a web trapping more than just me. That night I sat alone, a glass of wine untouched on the table. Ava's words echoed, mixing with Ethan's voicemails, with my own doubts. I'd won in court, but I felt like I was losing myself. I'd been so focused on outsmarting Ethan, on protecting my business, that I hadn't let myself feel the full weight of his betrayal. Now it crashed over me, a tidal wave of grief, anger, and shame. I'd loved him, built a life with him, and he'd thrown it away for a fantasy. Worse, I'd let his words creep into my head, making me question my worth. I hated myself for that. Then came the call I didn't expect. Ethan's mother, Margaret, reached out. We'd never been close. She'd always seen me as too ambitious, not soft enough for her son. But her voice was different now, heavy with regret. "Laura," she said, "we were wrong about you." She told me Ethan was spiraling, living in a cramped studio, relying on their help to pay his bills. She admitted they'd enabled him for years, excusing his flaws, blaming me when things went wrong. "You showed us who he really is," she said. "Thank you." Her words should have felt like vindication, but they didn't. They felt like another crack in my heart. I'd spent years trying to win her approval, and now when I had it, it meant nothing. I thanked her, hung up and stared at the walls of my home, the ones I'd designed to hold our future. I felt hollow, like the victory I'd fought for was just a shadow. I was winning, but at what cost? My strength was my armor, but it was also my cage keeping me from healing. Ethan wasn't done fighting. Rachel warned me he was preparing a new lawsuit claiming I'd hidden assets, that I'd orchestrated everything to ruin him. The accusation burned, not because it was true, but because it forced me to face my own ruthlessness. I'd played the game better than him, but I wasn't sure I liked the woman I'd become. I looked at my boutique, my pride, and felt a flicker of pride but also fear. What if this was all I had left? What if I'd poured so much into winning that I'd lost myself? I met with Rachel again, going over the new claims. "He's desperate," she said. "He's got nothing." But I wasn't so sure. Ethan had always been good at twisting the truth, at making people believe him. I'd seen it in court, in his voicemails, in the way he'd fooled Ava. I couldn't let him fool me again. I doubled down, gathering more evidence, tightening my defenses. My boutique was expanding, my second location, almost ready to open, but every step forward felt like a battle against the doubts Ethan had planted. I was thriving, but I was breaking. And Ethan, he was planning something I hadn't seen coming. Every victory came with a shadow. I'd outplayed Ethan in court, watched his world crumble as Ava left and his career faltered, but the weight of it all pressed heavier each day. I'd built a fortress around my heart, brick by brick, to survive his betrayal. But now those walls were suffocating me. I'd won, but at what cost? I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back, strong, yes, but hollowed out her eyes, carrying a grief she couldn't name. I'd fought to protect my boutique, my life, but I hadn't protected myself from the questions that haunted me. Was I enough? Had I loved him too much, or not enough? Could I ever trust again? Ethan's new lawsuit hit like a storm I hadn't seen coming. His lawyer, Greg Thornton, filed papers accusing me of hiding assets, claiming I'd orchestrated the entire divorce to ruin him. The audacity made my blood run cold, but the accusation cut deeper than I wanted to admit. Had I been too ruthless? Had I become the villain in my own story? I sat at my kitchen table, the same one where Ethan and I used to plan our future, and read the legal documents until my eyes burned. Each word was a twist of the knife, suggesting I'd manipulated him, that I'd planned his downfall from the start. I wanted to laugh at the absurdity, but instead I felt a crack in my armor, a flicker of doubt that maybe I'd gone too far. I called Rachel, my lawyer, who dismissed it with a scoff. "He's desperate, Laura," she said, her voice like steel. "This is a Hail Mary, and it's going to fail," but I wasn't so sure. Ethan had always been good at spinning stories, at making people believe his version of the truth. I'd seen it in his voicemails, in the way he'd fooled Ava, and the charm he'd used to win me over years ago. What if he convinced the court, or worse, our friends, our community, that I was the one to blame? The thought gnawed at me, a relentless voice whispering that I'd lost something irreplaceable, not just in Ethan, but in myself. Scottsdale's elite had already turned on Ethan, but now the whispers spread wider, seeping into every corner of my world. At a charity gala, I felt the weight of every glance, some sympathetic, some curious, some cruel. A woman I barely knew. A realtor named Claire pulled me aside and said, "You're so strong, Laura. I could never do what you did." Her words were meant to lift me, but they felt like a spotlight exposing my wounds. I smiled, thanked her, but inside I was unraveling. I wasn't strong. I was surviving, holding myself together with sheer will. While the world watched, waiting for me to crack, Ethan's downfall was the talk of the town. I heard from Sarah, our mutual friend, that he'd been banned from the country club after a drunken outburst. His name now a cautionary tale among the city's power players. His firm had lost major clients, unwilling to be associated with a man whose scandal was splashed across local gossip blogs. I should have felt vindicated, but instead I felt a pang of something I couldn't name. Pity maybe, or grief for the man I'd once loved. I hated that feeling. It made me question everything, my choices, my strength, my right to fight back. I'd spent years building a life with him, and now watching it burn. I wondered if I'd burned part of myself too. Then came the letter. It arrived at my boutique, handwritten in Ethan's familiar scrawl. I stared at it for an hour before opening it, my heart pounding, my hands unsteady. It was a plea, raw and desperate, addressed not just to me, but to anyone who'd listen. He'd posted it online too, on a local forum where it spread like wildfire. "Laura was my world," he wrote. "I made mistakes, but she destroyed me out of spite. I'm not perfect, but I don't deserve this." He painted himself as the victim, claiming I'd pushed him away with my ambition, that my coldness drove him to Ava. He begged for forgiveness, for a second chance, not just from me, but from everyone we knew. The letter was a gut punch. I read it alone in my office, the words blurring as tears. I hadn't allowed myself to shed finally fell. I wasn't crying for him. I was crying for the woman who'd believed in him, who'd built a life around his promises. His words were lies, but they hit every insecurity I'd buried, that I was too driven, too focused on my boutique, that I'd failed as a wife. I wanted to scream to tear the letter apart, but instead I folded it carefully, tucking it into a drawer. I wouldn't let him see me break. But the doubts he'd planted grew, twisting into my thoughts, making me question every choice I'd made. Have you ever been betrayed so cruelly that you forgot how to love yourself? If you felt that kind of pain, leave a dot in the comments. Your silence speaks louder than words. The letter changed everything. Friends who'd supported me started to waver their texts, cautious, their invites to coffee drying up. Sarah called, her voice hesitant. "He sounds broken, Laura," she said. "Maybe there's more to this." I wanted to scream that she was wrong, that Ethan's brokenness was his own doing, but I didn't. I said, "You don't know the whole story," and hung up my hands, shaking. The betrayal wasn't just Ethan's anymore, it was the world's. The people who'd claimed to have my back now questioning my truth. I felt exposed, like my pain was a spectacle for everyone to judge. But not everyone turned Diane. My loyal client came to the boutique the next day, her eyes blazing. "Don't you dare let him rewrite your story," she said, gripping my hand. "You're not the villain here." Her words were a lifeline, pulling me back from the edge. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat, and promised myself I wouldn't let Ethan's lies define me. But it wasn't easy. Every time I walked into a room, I felt the weight of whispers, the sting of doubt. I'd fought so hard to protect my business, my reputation, but I hadn't realized how much it would cost me to stand tall. The lawsuit went to court, and Rachel was a force, dismantling Ethan's claims with surgical precision. The judge saw through his lies, dismissing the case and slapping him with legal fees. Ethan sat there, his face gaunt, his suit ill-fitting, a shadow of the man I'd married. I should have felt triumphant, but all I felt was emptiness. I'd won again, but the victory tasted like ash. I'd spent so much energy fighting him, proving I was right, that I hadn't stopped to grieve, not just for our marriage, but for the woman I'd been before his betrayal. She was gone, replaced by someone harder, sharper, someone who didn't know how to let go of the fight. I went home that night and opened a box I'd avoided for years. Our wedding photos, love letters, mementos of a life that felt like a dream. I sat on the floor surrounded by them and let myself feel it all, the love I'd had for him, the hope I'd carried, the pain of his betrayal. I didn't cry. I was too tired for tears, but I felt the weight of it, heavy and unrelenting. I'd built my boutique into an empire, but I'd lost something along the way. The ability to trust, to love without fear. I didn't know if I could get that back. Ethan's letter had consequences he hadn't anticipated. The online forum turned against him, comments tearing into his self-pity, calling him out for his arrogance. "You don't get to play victim after stealing her money." One user wrote, "Laura's a queen," another said. The support lifted me, but it also reminded me how public my pain had become. I wasn't just Laura Bennett, interior designer. I was Laura, the betrayed wife, the woman who'd fought back. My story was no longer mine. It belonged to the world, dissected and debated by strangers. Ethan's life kept unraveling. Sarah told me he'd moved into a rented room above a garage, his credit cards maxed out, his social circle gone. He tried dating again, but the scandal followed him. Women in Scottsdale knew his name, and not in a good way. Ava, too, faced her own fallout. She'd tried to rebuild her image, posting about growth and healing online, but the comments were brutal, accusing her of chasing a married man's money. I didn't feel sorry for her, not exactly, but I understood her. She'd been young, naive, caught in Ethan's lies. We were both his victims in different ways. My boutique was thriving, a second location, open, a third in the works. Business magazines called me a trailblazer, not a scorned wife, but a woman who'd turned pain into power. I hired more staff, spoke at women's conferences, shared my story, not of revenge, but of resilience. I told women to protect their finances, to trust their instincts, to never let anyone dim their light. The applause was deafening, but it didn't fill the hole inside me. I'd built an empire, but I was alone in it, haunted by the what-ifs. What if I'd confronted Ethan sooner? What if I'd loved him differently? What if I'd never let him in? 2 years after that text, I stood at the 5-year anniversary of Bennett Designs. The celebration was packed, clients, friends, my team all raising glasses to my success. I smiled, gave a speech, thanked them for believing in me. But as the night ended, I stood alone in my boutique, the lights dim, the silence heavy. I'd outgrown Ethan's cruelty, but I hadn't outgrown the pain I'd won, but I was still searching for peace. Ethan's betrayal didn't just break my marriage, it broke me open, forced me to face the parts of myself I'd ignored. I rebuilt my life stronger than before. But the scars remain a map of where I've been. Some betrayals you survive, but you never forget. The deepest wounds don't bleed, they linger, shaping who you become. If you were me, would you forgive, or would you let him carry the weight of his choices forever? Share your thoughts below. Subscribe for more stories where the truth cuts deep. This is Broken Vows, where promises shatter and the aftermath speaks for itself.